This is a special edition of the Mike Gallagher Show, Coronavirus in America.
We're using the full power of the federal government to defeat the virus, and that's what we've been doing.
For a while, life is not going to be the way it used to be in the United States.
As we face this national emergency pandemic, now's the time for knowledge and clarity. And this is the place to get it.
We're going into a full crisis footing. This is a wartime dynamic. We have to think about helping each other in different ways.
The president made very decisive decisions quickly.
2020 is definitely going to be one for the history books. And as we take it all in, we know that we'll get through this together. We're America. And now, here's Mike.
The president announcing some reopening guidelines. It's a three-phase plan aiming for May the 1st, a little less than 2 weeks from now. These guidelines, are pretty meticulous. They're sort of implementable on a statewide basis. They come in phases, 3 phases. It's so funny. The first phase includes continuing to shelter vulnerable individuals. And I cannot, me. I mean, my motto, enough about me, let's talk about me. I try not to be too ego-driven in this business, and that's tough to do sometimes. But in my crazy world, prior to April 7th, I was not vulnerable. Now I'm vulnerable because a lot of these guidelines seem to say 60 or older. Now, a lot of them say 65, a lot of them say 70. I think I'm in good shape. I don't know. I mean, I try. I take my balance of nature. I do my, my exercises. I've lost about 25 pounds since the end of January. I'm on my exercise bike. I'm eating healthier. I'm doing all the right things, but I'm 60. I don't feel 60, but I kind of feel like, now I'm in the vulnerable world. And I wonder if I'm going to have to be locked at home for the rest of my life, afraid to go out. I don't know. I saw a Twitter personality, a big social media influencer. I think her name is Christy Swanson. I think she's an actress. A conservative. And she had a long thread last night about having gotten sick with her family like December, January. And all of these posts started popping up of people who had a similar experience. And I keep hearing that over and over and over again. And of course, I was kind of publicly, at least to this audience, out sick during CPAC. And that was, what was that, Eric? End of February. In bed, in the hotel room, was miserable. I just chills. I had a fever, went to the clinic in DC, didn't know what to do, wasn't near my doctor. The clinic, they did a great job, one of those walk-in clinics. I'll never forget because it said when you signed in on the keypad, the first thing it said was, have you traveled to any of the impacted areas of coronavirus? Remember something. We had hardly any confirmed cases in the end of February. Do you remember that? I was just reading something last night that reminded me of something. Do you realize, guess how many cases we had March the 2nd. Guess how many cases we had? Do you remember? You know how people say Trump failed to act and that's why people are dying because he didn't shut the country down in February? Right? You remember that? Riddle me this, Batman. Let's do a little pop quiz. How many people were confirmed infected with the virus on March the 2nd? Try 102 people. Now, you know what? I want you to make the argument, you Trump haters, that he could have pulled off shutting the country down March 2nd with 102 cases. Yeah, good luck with that. You're living on Fantasy Island, and you know it. You're driven by your rage and your hatred and your resentment, and you're hurting people with your stupid rhetoric about blasting and blaming all of this on the president of the United States. And I'm really getting a little fed up with it. This goofy Washington Post right turn woman, whatever her name is, sending something out saying the Trump toll when we are done will likely include tens of thousands of unnecessary deaths, massive unemployment, trillions of dollars more in debt, and trillions of dollars in lost wealth, not to mention emotional hardship and educational disruption. That's all Trump's fault, according to the Washington Post. And again, the narrative is, why didn't we shut the country down in February? Dan Crenshaw, this terrific congressman from Texas, District 2, he tweeted back to this really despicable writer, "Stop rewriting history," he said, all in caps. "Instead of attempting to spin the public into a hateful fright and frenzy, let's try reporting some facts with correct context. Here's what that might look like. On March the 3rd, he wrote, the day after you claim Trump should have shut our economy down, this is how the World Health Organization described the virus. On March the 3rd, the beloved WHO, we gotta fund them, protect them at all costs. Here's what the WHO said on March the 3rd, quote, COVID-19 spreads less efficiently than flu. Transmission does not appear to be driven by people who are not sick. If Trump's not supposed to listen to the WHO or Birx or Fauci, who's he supposed to listen to? You think he's a scientist? We know he's not. You think he's a doctor? We know he's not. Crenshaw asks this awful, awful writer who pretends to be a conservative, all under the guise of destroying this president every chance she gets, would the American public really have accepted millions of jobs destroyed for a virus that had infected 102 people by March 2nd? I'd love to have somebody answer that question for me. Be great to hear. Anyway, the opening up of America, breaking it down in phases. Incidentally, feel free to jump on board. 1-800-655-MIKE. We made it to Friday. We're in the ReliefFactor.com studios, back in my kitchen again, working from home like so many millions of Americans are doing. Sadly, millions are not working, just waiting for the opportunity to go back to work. How do we balance it? And I get that it's a tricky, difficult, painful balance. But, at some point, this country is going to be destroyed completely. And it's not going to be this awful coronavirus. And believe me, I have never said, I'm not saying to you, this is just flu, there's nothing to worry about. Of course, we are continuing to see the world react to this. Germany, incidentally, beginning to ease their coronavirus restrictions. Counties and states around America, the president pointed out, there's a number of counties that they have not had a single new case in the last 7 days. How many counties was that, guys? I think 850 or more. 850 counties in America with not a single new case in the last 7 days. So those are some of the things that are positive. Got some economic news that's positive as well I want to share with you, courtesy of the great Lou Dobbs over at Fox Business. But in the meantime, let's dive in, and I want to talk a little bit about what this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 looks like. And you, incidentally, can get the president's guidance and recommendations. We'll text it back to you. All you have to do is text the keyword OPEN to 1-800-655-6453.